Hello. Hello, Sebastián. Hello, Sebastián. Can you hear me?
Oh, teacher. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Am I the first one?
Yes, I think so. I don't know why. It is supposed that everybody must be here at 7, but let's see.
And let's wait for more people to join.
Yeah. Uh, right. Meanwhile, Sebastián, where did you learn English?
Where?
Yeah.
Well, here in Colombia. I
Yeah.
just love it, and I've been watching videos, talking to people, reading. So it's been a personalized, no, an independent process. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've done it by myself.
Okay. And why did you
Mm.
decide to be a teacher?
Well, I first had the opportunity to teach in 2008, and since then I've loved it. So I've been able to teach since then. And it's not that I decided to do it before that, but because of the opportunity I had, I liked it, and then I decided to continue be a teacher.
Okay. But you are a teacher right now. I mean, you work as a teacher.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, I teach at a language center here in Medellin,
Where?
in EAFIT University.
Yeah, fit. I used to have some students from there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a good university here in this city. It's one of the most important universities in the city.
Yeah, but I had some students who worked there as well. I mean, they
Mm,
studied this major, but like 2, 3 years ago, I don't remember. Very,
okay.
so it was very interesting. I was there. I was there
Yeah.
in a fit.
You were here, but what, studying or working?
No, visiting
Okay.
in a congress.
In a congress. Great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a poopy university.
Yes, I know. I know. So, do you have any other profession? Or this is the only thing?
Well, I studied technology, uh, system technology, but I didn't finish it. I got married and I got busy teaching, so I didn't finish that. And I also studied some semesters of music at the University of Antioquia, but I didn't finish that either. So this is the
Either.
first career I'm going to finish.
This is okay. I
Yeah.
thought that you were about to say that this is the third attempt.
No, no. This is the third one and the last one.
No, okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And better. Okay, good evening, the rest of you.
Hi teacher, how are you?
I have here Leonardo and Lisette. Lisette Gamboa.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for asking. Okay, guys, I have a question. I couldn't check the tasks for today. I mean, the reflections, but I know that you have already uploaded, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is to try to check maybe today or tomorrow in order you to have the feedback for the second class. I know that you are going to do the second class this week, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So you can have the feedback of the lesson plan for this week. Okay. Hello, Belisario.
Hi, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, right. Okay, so I don't know if there is more people are going to enter. Luz Helena is here as well. Hello, Luz Helena.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
Very
Hi,
good,
teacher.
thank you.
Good.
Very, very good, thank you. Let me look for this thing, so let's wait a second. Yes. I always got lost in my computer. Yeah. All right. Okay. How do you feel doing the feedback? Oh, sorry, the reflection paper. How do you feel? How do you find it?
Well, teacher, I find it really helpful. Because after I read your feedback on my first class, it was quite easy for me to fill the paper.
Okay. And what things?
Because
Yeah.
we need just to follow the suggestions, and I found it much easier to fill the reflection paper than when I was doing the first lesson plan, for example.
Yeah. Okay, right. And when
I felt more confident.
you have to design for the activities for the second lesson plan, what things come to your mind? I mean, what things do you start reflecting upon, or what do you take into consideration when you were trying to design the lesson plan?
In my case, about the warm-up activity and wrap-up activities, and the way how I have to introduce grammar.
To introduce
That was in
grammar.
my case.
Luz Helena, can I ask you something?
Yes.
How important is grammar in your teaching?
It's very important in my practice because my students need to communicate with people in United States. So they feel bad because they don't know much grammar.
Okay. Okay, I have the same question for you, Leonardo. Sorry, Luz.
I think it's more important for them than for me as a teacher to learn grammar.
Right.
This is why they say to me.
Okay, and for you, Leonardo, how important is it grammar in your teaching?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I fight with that because I know it shouldn't be a focus, but I found out that depending on the groups, not other groups, and there's some students that actually feel and need the grammar so they can understand better. Also, depending on what I want to focus on. If I want to write, if I want to read, what is planned for that day, and then I do it on that activity. Now, going back on the question, how did I feel doing the reflection? Well, it was interesting because, well, usually we don't film our classes. That's a reality. And you film your class and you see what you do. You see that there are mistakes, that there's things that you could improve, but you only realize it once you're doing the class. That part was interesting. Now, can I ask you a question? Why do you ask me for the grammar? What do you think as a teacher?
No, I'm just asking.
Can I answer the question?
I am just asking because I am curious. And you're not the only one. Lisette, please.
Okay. Well, going back to the first question. Um, for me, it was a really interesting task because I think as a teacher, I never go back to analyze like.
Tenías que hacer un acordeón y un poemario con el texto de qué están hablando. Sí, ¿qué es eso? Ok, me recuerdas mañana.
Okay. Hello?
Okay. Okay, nos quedamos escuchando la otra conversación. Sorry, I know.
Yes.
She's upset.
No, I'm sure it's not me.
Yes, I know, I know, I know.
Something's happening. I just
That
want to
important.
say, I just
It is important, but I don't focus on that. I focus more on the context and the methodology that I'm gonna use. Sometimes I clarify some rules, but I try to focus more like on the interaction that the students have.
Okay, the problem is communication with
Jairo.
Lisette. Yes, Jairo.
Teacher, I'd like to say something about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, so what I want to go back to Leonardo's question because somehow the actual question of how important is grammar in your lessons implies something. I guess the question should be, what emphasis do you give to grammar, or what's the role of grammar in your teaching? Because I mean, if we take the definition of communicative competence by the Common European Framework, is divided by three main competences. One of them being the linguistic competence,
Yeah.
where grammar is a building block. So, but once again, asking about how important it is, well, it is as important as any one of the other building blocks for any of the three different main aspects. What I mean is provided this definition by the Common European Framework, you don't get to be competent, communicatively speaking, if you don't have the linguistic competence. And one of the aspects is grammar.
Yeah, I agree.
If the emphasis of your lesson is grammar based, okay, that's a different question and a different problem. If I can call it a problem. Truth is that we have a tendency of believing that the more grammar in a lesson, the less communicative the lesson is. That could be the implication given in asking how important grammar is in your lesson.
Okay, I just asking this question because for some teachers, I'm not talking about you. For some teachers, most of the time, an English class is related only to grammar. I'm not talking about you because I have watched your classes, and I can say that you are focusing on other things as well. But as Jairo Alberto was saying, grammar is still only one of the blocks. And according to the Common European Framework as well, I will say that it is not one of the big ones, because the linguistic competence is not just grammar, right? The linguistic competence is
lexical and it's
composed by the other aspects that we analyzed in the class previously in theoretical linguistics, and composed by other things. So the problem is that sometimes we teachers, I'm not talking only about a particular case, but we use grammar as the most important thing in the class. So we have to go towards grammar all the time. And I am including myself because I used to think in the same way, right? However,
could I add something else, teacher?
Yep. Yeah, Jairo, go ahead.
Okay.
I am not talking. It's another person in another.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
Long ago, we had this training with the British Council, and they said it's about how much grammar you teach. It could be a problem, but also when you teach it. They used to say that language, as such, has three main components that you should pay attention to. Number one, form, meaning, and use. So when teaching a language, these are three aspects that you have to integrate into your teaching. And what they said was, what they had noticed, especially in Colombia, is that teachers would usually start with the form. Then they would go to the use, and they would end up with the meaning. So they proposed like a different approach, and they said, start with the use. Show students how it's used, given different examples. Immerse students into the use of that particular target language. Then help them get the meaning. And by the end of a lesson, when they have understood the use and they have the meaning, at the end of a lesson or the series of lessons, present the grammar. So they said it also has to do with how much grammar it is, if it's the emphasis. But if you show it in that sequence, use, meaning, and then the form, and finish with that, it could be a little bit more communicative. It could be a little bit more language functions. It could be a little bit more of pragmatics.
Okay,
Yep.
yes. I agree with this because anyway, that's a way of showing that deductively, not inductively.
Exactly.
Right?
That's how they explained it. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
That was the word.
And that's more or less the principle of communicative approach. I am not saying that the communicative approach doesn't allow to teach grammar, because it is a lie. Communicative approach allows to teach grammar. But the way to teach grammar or to introduce the grammar is something that particular that we have to start like paying attention to the way we are doing it, right? I know, because Leonardo said something important, that it also depends on the groups. And it is very understandable when you have adults, when you work with adults, that they asked for grammar, for the rules. They want to see the rules at the beginning, not at the end. Yeah, because we have a very structured mind. I don't have very structured mind, so the logic of our learning is different. So we can understand it that way, right? However, when I asked this question is, okay, the intention of this question was precisely to see, as you said, Jairo, the role of the grammar in our teaching. It is important, it is necessary, but from my perspective, and I'm going to be very honest with you, it cannot be the most important, and it cannot be the only thing that we teach, right? So pay attention to what we are doing. Additionally, I respect the British Council, what they do, but what the British Council does is exactly to reproduce or to try to teach a language as an static aspect, as an static thing. So it is just the language that it is on the books, or the language that it is standardized, or the kind of language. But what I want to try, maybe we cannot do the next semester because I think that you're going to have a different teacher, but what I would like to try is to go beyond teaching the language just because of the language, right? I have seen in your practice that you include some of you include something in which your students get involved and they try to express their experiences, and they try to express what they think about an issue or what they think about a topic. And that's what we are trying to look for, right? Don't teach the language just because of the language. Teach the language because of a purpose, with a purpose, right? And try to use the human or the humanistic aspect of teaching in order to get integrated that teaching of the language. This is maybe the main purpose or the main reason why I ask about the grammar, Yeah, just to focus. So I want you to know that my interest, your personal interest could be different. My interest could be take the language as a means for communicating, right? As a means for a, listening and learning from the others more than just learning structures or something like that. Okay, Diana is raising your hand, her hand. So
Good evening, teacher. How are
good
you?
evening, Diana.
I just have a little question. You were saying that it's not a good idea just to teach the language just with the sake of it, no, just with the purpose of teaching language matters.
I didn't say that.
You mentioned something about, I just forgot, I had the word in my mind, but I forgot. You say that we should teach the language with I think you said like a specific purpose or something like that. And my question is it the same that teaching language in a context?
No, teaching a language in a context means that you are using the context as as an excuse for talking. But what I want you to notice, because you are going to be English teachers, or you are English teachers already, is that the language is something that it is not just a static thing, right? Some teachers see language as a static. So, for example, we are going to learn today the language, and we are going to use the past simple. We are going to learn the past simple because that's the topic. First mistake, the topic cannot be a grammar structure. So we are going to learn some verbs, and you give the list of the verbs, and they learn the list of the verbs, and they start repeating the list of the verbs. So in that sense, the person is just learning the language just because of, I mean, for the sake of the language, as you said. Yeah?
Separate from a real context. Maybe you just take the language parts away.
It could be related. It could be related to your real context. I am talking about your past. Okay. But how meaningful could it be? Or what other kind of things can we include in order to explore a little more? Because English teachers must think nowadays that we are also educators. And as we are educating, we are going to try to introduce or to give a little more than the things that are in the book. Another thing that it is important to take into account is the context in which you are teaching. So if you are given a very structured way of teaching, because it happens, you cannot go out from that way of teaching. However, there are some things, some questions, some exercises that you can lead in order to promote a little bit more the critical thinking that we are talking, or that we used to talk many times, right? So taking into account that critical thinking is not to criticize, but to think, to propose, to see, to analyze, to observe other things, so we can use the language to do that. And also it depends on the level, because I understand also the level, the probabilities that the people have in order to express. However, even with few tools or with few words, they can express what they think, right? That's what I am trying to say. Yeah, and it is a suggestion for the future, no for this semester, that it is for the future, right? Okay, so I want to present something that is going to sound a little static, but I'm going to present something here to start working with, let me see, to start working with some suggestions, I mean, in order to start introducing some abilities. I don't know if you can see here the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How to teach listening. Why? Many people think that listening is one of the most difficult skills to learn. Why do you think so? Or do you agree? My first question.
I guess there has to be a phonological aspect to that. What I understand is there's Spanish as a language is an alphabetical language, whereas English is a phonological language. So it happens to be that when we were learning Spanish, the fact of learning the alphabet would actually help you out making sense of how the language sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got used to very specific sounds that are not the same sounds in English. Provided that we didn't go through a phonological method for literacy, when we listen to English, there's a series, and this is like part of studies. There's a series of sounds that we are deaf to, unless we get training on it. So basically, the teaching of listening has a lot to do with that. I mean, the distinction between how we learn the language and the structure of the phonological and alphabetical nature of the languages are the different sounds that we are not really used to. So ear training, being able to understand that discriminates certain very similar sounds is what somehow could be difficult. That's why, excuse me?
Nobody's saying anything.
Oh my God, I'm getting a lot of cakes talking.
Okay.
But
No,
also,
but it is outside. Sorry.
complementing what Jairo was saying, we can listen grammar, sorry, we can study grammar, we can study vocabulary, but listening something is a skill that you have to train. You have to train your ear. You have to listen a lot. So that's why I think it's difficult. Yeah, because you have to train to, like Jairo was saying, to understand the phonetic side of the language.
There's something that's from early stages you should be developing, which is phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is major in terms of learning English, which doesn't happen as much when you're learning Spanish.
Yes, Sebastian is going to say something.
Yes, teacher. I was thinking that the listening skill cannot be studied. I mean, when you say to your students, study for the listening quiz we have next class, that's not possible. I mean, it's a whole process. Sometimes it's a long process because it involves getting used to some sounds, to identifying some the way words are pronounced, and that is not to be studied. I mean, that is something to be acquired in a long process. So it's a long process instead of an event.
And teacher, may I add something else?
Yes.
So besides the aspect of phonics, phonemic awareness, there's also this huge thing about accents and speed and rhythm and intonation that all of them are different from Spanish. So as my classmate was saying is you don't teach listening as such, but there's different sub skills that a student or a person has to develop so that when he listens, he can make sense of the different phonemes, what sound they make together, what words they're making up, but then the intonation is a complex thing.
Sorry, I agree with you. I agree in the sense that teaching, teaching listening is not possible in the sense that you are talking. And I totally agree with that. And I like that you got to that conclusion because of your experience or because of previous knowledge, because I wanted to say that. Listening is not something to teach. Listening is something that we can help students to develop. Yes?
It's a skill that they develop.
Yes, all the communicative skills are skills and they can develop all of them, but it is easier to teach them how to read or to teach them how to write because there are certain structures, there are certain things that they can observe, that they can practice, that they can repeat, because those kind of things are easier to incorporate in the learning. But as you were saying, listening is something that you can teach as the other skills, right? And I really like that thing. Talking about the phonetic awareness, I totally agree with that. We have to start teaching our students the phonetics. When we studied phonetics, we could realize that phonetics are so important because they are so different from Spanish, and most of the mistakes that we have or that we make are because we misunderstand or because we are not aware of the sounds of listening. Additionally, when you listen or when you have a clear notion of how the sound or what the sounds of English are, you can speak better. So they are all together. However, when we are talking about another level of listening, because that's the recognition of sounds, the recognition of words, but when we talk about another level of listening, we have to start doing other kind of exercises, right? So because most of your students, I could notice, they can recognize the sounds, right? But listening itself involves some things. For example, here we have some examples: identifying information, searching memories, relating that information. Uh, sorry, relating that information to those memories, filling in the proper spot. So as we can see here, in this case, is what we do when we get some information that it is from the listening or from a listening exercise. So the first thing that we have to do is identifying information, and in that level, the recognition of words, the recognition of sounds is in here. Then we have to go towards our memory. So we have to go here and start looking at those words and related those words or that information. When we relate that information, we fill in the proper spot. I mean, if there is an information that we know, we are going to put that information in the proper spot, in the place it is. If we don't recognize the information, we create a new place for it, right? And we use that information when we need. So that's what the listening involves, like the mental process that the listening involves in here, right? So what we need is to help the students to become effective listeners. So what is an effective listener? An effective listener is a person who can monitor comprehension, right? So I am talking about this stage of really understand pieces of information, so they can monitor the comprehension, they can understand, or they can know where or what amount of information they can get. They can associate new information with background knowledge. So they have this ability of taking the information they are listening and taking the information they know and start relating that information. That is an effective listener. Make inferences about unknown words. Yeah, so when you don't have a word clear, a good listener or effective listener is able to infer from the context. It's exactly the same that happens in reading. Sebastian, you're going to say something?
Yeah, teacher, I have a question. At the beginning, you said that effective listeners monitor comprehension. Isn't that the role of a teacher to monitor comprehension, or how can listeners, or in this case,
No.
students, do that?
We are talking about two different things. When you monitor comprehension, is because you do an exercise in order to see if they really understand what they know. But when we talk about effective listeners, is an effective listener that it is the final goal with the listening exercise. An effective listener is able to recognize what amount of information he or she can recognize, right?
And that is monitoring.
That's monitoring for the person. For at this moment, for example, if I am talking to you Can you understand everything that I say?
Yes.
Or do you need to go or to use any other resource in order to understand what I am saying or what any other person is saying in this class?
No. So by understanding what you're saying, I am monitoring my own comprehension.
You monitor your own comprehension. Maybe if we are talking, okay, if you face, for example, two other aspects of speech, as Jairo said, for example, different accents, and a person who is from Scotland maybe is talking here. Maybe we have to monitor. We have that ability of understanding how much we can understand, right? And monitoring ourselves. So I can say I cannot understand some things. I can understand some pronunciations. I can understand some words, right? So we can monitor.
Okay.
Yeah, evaluate ourselves.
Okay, great, teacher. Thanks.
Thank you for the question, because yes, I have to clarify that this effective listener is the final goal. It's not what we have, maybe the kind of student we have now, but it is like the final
Teacher?
objectives of those. Yes?
No, I just wanted to add that what you're saying about the accents, that's really important because last year I presented the Cambridge exam CAE, and in the listening part, they put like different accents, like people from Australia, people from United States, people from Jamaica, and that's like for most of the teachers, that's like the most difficult task because it's really difficult to understand, like, you know, the English from Australia or Scotland. So I think it's very important to know that understanding different accents is also like part of the listening skill.
Yeah. And if we take into account what you are saying, the exams, that kind of exams are complicated not only because of the accents, but because they allow us to listen only once.
Yes.
So it is something that we have to start working with our students. Okay, I will say that I will say that I don't like it, but anyway, we have to work with them because they have to face the reality and the reality of this country, that they have to take exams of that kind,
Yeah.
and they have to learn how much information they can recognize, and they have to learn how to associate that information, make inferences and everything, because they are going to face those kind of exercises. And if they lose a moment of that listening, they are going to lose many things, right? So
Yes.
and you know, because you have taken those exams.
Yes,
Okay.
it's horrible.
Yes, it's horrible, I know. And the CAE, the CAE,
I'm sorry?
you took the
Yes.
CAE?
CAE, yes.
That's very complicated.
It was very complicated. No, it was really stressful, but thank God I passed. But it was complicated.
You passed?
Yeah, I am C1, and I was only 4 points from C2, so
Oh my
I was so
God.
stressed. Yeah.
One of the advantages of that exam is that it doesn't have an expiration date.
No, yeah, it's whatever.
It's forever. So it
But
guarantees
it's very hard.
it guarantees that you are going to have the level forever. It is not like the IELTS or like the TOEFL that you only have that level 2 years
Yes.
And Lisa, what do you recommend?
to study.
Oh my God.
Study
I
how?
think
study
the
and pay.
structure of the exam, because the structure is very complicated.
To any
Like,
exam.
yeah, but yeah, and in the reading part, oh my God, it's horrible because they give you like paragraphs and you have to organize a story, but like nothing, like it's really like of a lot of analysis because everything seems to be the beginning, everything seems to be like the middle. So I think you should study like the structure, because as the teacher says, they only give you one chance. So for me, work to study like the structure of the exam, like how it develops.
That's a very good piece of advice. The most important when you take an international exam is to understand the structure of the exam itself, because all the international exams are different. So if you don't understand the structure, you are going to get lost, and that's going to be very complicated because you don't know what they want you to do.
Yes.
But
That's
Lisa, do you prefer in an institute or by yourself?
No, I did it by myself because I have 3 kids, so I didn't have time. But in my school, they offered like the teachers a course, and they took a course. But if I hadn't studied like the structure with them, because I did it on my like free time at school with them, if I hadn't studied the structure, I would have not passed because it's really difficult, like the structure, to understand what they want from you, because there's one part that is called use of English, and that's like very difficult because you only have a chance of one word, but you know it's the word they want. So I did not prepare in an institute, but my co-workers did. But it was for time because I don't have time. But I think,
Mhm.
yeah, if you can prepare in an institute or something like that, take a course is better.
But do you offer free preparation classes?
In my school?
No, you.
No, I mean,
Me? Oh,
Nope.
I can give you the material that I have.
wow, great.
You can share the material. Okay,
Yes.
very. Okay, so let's continue. So as Lisette was saying, it is very important to be this, and maybe that helps me to make you understand that there is a difference between, oh, that's what I mean, training, okay? Because you have to be trained in order to take certain kind of exams and kind of things. That it is one of our duties because our students are going to do that. But we have another thing that is educating, and it is another different concept. But okay. So here we have this effective listener, and in this sense we have if we complete or if we have our students to manage all these things, we can have those kind of listeners that are going to be good at understanding at any level, right? So what things can interfere with listening comprehension? One of the things that you mentioned was accent. And it is clear that many people have different accent. Everybody has different accent. We have our own accent. Colombian people have our own. We have our own accent, and it depends on the region. We have different accents as well. The speed of the speech, the idiomatic speech, the ways of the ways of connecting the speech is another factor. Unfamiliar vocabulary, grammar, long texts, sorry, unprepared for the discussion. Many things can interfere with our listening comprehension. Many things. So what we have to do here is try to help our students to face or to handle those kind of things when they are facing a listening comprehension activity. Okay, so there is one proposal. Give me 1 second because there are many children on the streets. Give me 1 second. Ready. What many teachers follow is the TTT approach, that it is test, test, test. That's the TTT approach to teach listening or to help students to get listening, to rise the listening comprehension. So this test, the only thing is to try exercises, different exercises in order to do what they have to do, right? So the use of these kind of exercises only conduce students to identify certain kind of information, to use passages to fill in the blanks, or to choose from a list of options. Those kind of things they are going to be trained about. Okay, so maybe from a linguistic perspective, that could be not enough, right? Maybe that's not enough. So how to prepare students for listening tasks? Maybe we can do some things. right? So there are some principles of teaching listening comprehension. So for the first, for example, is let the students understand how foreigners speak English and build student sensitiveness. So as Lisette was saying, there are many accents, different accents in the exercises. So why don't we use different accents in our listening exercises? Trying to make them sensitive or try to make them aware of the existence of those accents. There are a lot, but we can try from time to time to change the accent. Sometimes we focus only on the American Standard English or on the RP, the received pronunciation from Britain, but we can vary. Yes, there are some books that can help them. There are some videos that we can use as well, right? Or what we can do is giving them some guidelines, providing an opportunity for meaningful practice, and trust they will learn these things for themselves. Because, as you mentioned, listening is something that we cannot teach as we teach the other skills. Okay, involve students in focused listening. So the first thing that we have to do with the activities or with the listening activities is to make the activities relevant for students. So we have to get that point that in which they find the activities or the topic interesting for them, that it is going to be valuable for them, right? So you can provide background knowledge. You can do pre-listening exercises to activate content, and use in these pre-listening exercises and a variety of activities. Yeah, but the first thing is to make that relevant, to find the connection with your students, to make them significant. So the listening activities to overcome the difficulties could be these ones. These could be pre-listening activities before previous the listening activity. So we have this kind of activities, giving charts or categories, asking questions ahead, showing pictures, discussing the topic, describing the context, role-playing a situation, providing keyword list, brainstorming, predicting, doing follow-ups that allows them to connect directly with their lives. So those kind of things can help students to connect, to be involved, and to get interest, and to have them interested in the listening activity. So other listening activities could be follow-up activities, so more listening, writing activities, or role-playing. This could be after the listening, so they can write about what they have listened. They can use role plays, and there are other activities that could wake up students, like chants, right? Everybody understand what is a jazz chant? What is a jazz chant?
What is a chant?
Yes.
Yes.
Like
It's
a song?
It's a song.
Rhyme?
Yes.
Song.
It is a song. Yes. You can use jokes, puzzles, or songs. Those are suggestions, yeah, for you to use in order to activate students wake up, to be active during the listening activities and those kind of things, right? Okay, so I'm going to be faster because we don't have much time. So we have here strategies to teach listening comprehension. Some of them are bottom-up strategies and some of them are top-down strategies. When we talk about bottom-up strategies, is when we start from the bottom, from the more like the basis of the language, and in this case, the basis of the language are the words, right? So we can start seeing the syllables or analyzing the syllables. So those suggestions that Jairo gave us at the beginning, recognizing the phonics, recognizing the different sounds. Those are bottom-up strategies. Yeah, so we can do exercises with those kind of things. From the segmentals that are the sounds to the suprasegmentals that are things like stress, intonation, or rhythm, right? So we can use those things in order to connect our students with the listening and to have them understand. Yeah, those are the bottom-up activities. So we have here other suggestions. So we can work with pronunciation, minimal pairs, that you all know what a minimal pair is. The past tense or past tense, the present tense or past tense, so they can recognize this is a listening exercise in which they can recognize if it is in past or present. So you can play with them, these kind of activities, just for them to activate that level of recognition of the sounds, right? Pronunciation change or blur speech, right? So what do you mean? What do you mean? Where's the boy? And those kind of things that make them like feel challenged in order to recognize something. So we can play with these kind of things, strategies that they are bottom up. In this case, what we are looking for is just recognition of certain or specific things, right? Or teach intonation, yeah, in order to analyze the intention of the speaker. This is also bottom up because it comes from words or groups, so we can have word groups which carry meanings. So we can take a script, we can start listening, we can start connecting speech and everything. So we can use these kind of exercises as well, right? Thinking strategy, but we are going to, this is top-down strategies. In the top-down, we are not focusing on the structure of the words or the structure of the language. We are focusing on the message with the top-down. With the bottom-up, we focus on the language. But with top-down, we focus on the message. So we have to teach them how to identify specific information or certain kind of information, right? So one of the things could be, when you are listening to something, try to have students determine the setting of the conversation, the interpersonal relationships, the topic, the mood, the main idea, or any other aspect that you consider important from the conversation, right? In order to understand what happens or where is the conversation taking place. That is necessary. We have to help students to hypothesize, predict, and infer about what they are going to listen or about what is going to happen after certain parts of the listening, or about something that can happen after, at the beginning, when you finish the listening completely, right? So if we are going to give them, or if we want to do this, we can give them 1 or 2 words at the beginning and ask them, elicit from them, what is the listening about? What is going to be the listening about? And those kind of things, right? So students can infer and guess about what the story is. Yep. So those are top down. Yeah. And I think that that's it, because this is dictation and I don't want to focus on that. Yes, those 2 kind of listening strategies in order you to start implementing in your classes if you want, or if you have any other strategy to teach or to have your students improve their skills in listening, you can share as well with us, right? So we have 5 minutes. Questions, comments?
Teacher, did you have the opportunity to have a look at the reflection of the classes. I'm sorry, I was a little bit late today.
Yes, I know because I have already said that. But no, I am going to do that right now. Yeah, because as the deadline was yesterday, I am going to check that tonight.
Lovely, thank you, teacher. And the next assignment, the class is for next week. I haven't checked the platform. It's for
This week.
What day exactly?
This week, the Sunday. This coming Sunday.
The class.
Yeah, the recording. We agreed on that, right?
Teacher, but you remember that class we agreed that you said we were allowed to do it like Monday or Tuesday next week.
Yes, sir.
Because I planned it for Monday. I remember nobody was against that we have few days extra.
So what day did we agree? Yes, I remember now.
Tuesday.
We say Wednesday or Tuesday? I can't remember.
Tuesday?
Tuesday? Okay, Tuesday is good for me.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday 28. Yes?
Thank you, teacher.
No, 20, yes.
The 28th? Yeah, okay. Yeah, because we have to do the reflection, remember, and then we have to do the third recording, so we don't have much time. Yeah, it is very short. This class is very short. Time for this class. Okay, any other question?
No, teacher, thank you. Thank you for
No,
your
teacher.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, guys. I want to say that this is the first time that I have many students in my class.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The whole class is here. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I am very happy. I have my 12 students all
All
together
of them. All of them.
Excellent.
for the first time. Okay. Thank you very much for attending, guys.
All right, teacher. Thank you.
Thanks to
Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next week. Okay.
Okay, teacher. Thank
Bye.
you.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Bye. Smiley said. Bye bye.